the morning that 538 shut down, Ruth emailed me and was like, is there anything I can do? And I was like, well, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna get a job at the New York Times. Like, they have the people they need.
Don't say that.
Although, New York Times, if you're listening. So I was like, Ruth, I'm gonna start an indie podcast, and when I come to you, just like say yes, just come on the podcast. Like, that's all I need from you. And she was like, done. So you've been ready. You've been waiting.
Ready, just like ready to jump into that double dutch. Like, I'm here. Let's go.
Well, you picked a good podcast to come on because we've got like a very silly
excited
game
about this game. You're raising the expectations are very high right now.
Well, there's just
Listeners
one question.
Get excited.
There's just one question in particular that like I nearly like shit my pants just like writing. Like, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. This cannot be real.
I can't wait for you to giggle while you're saying it. It's gonna be great.
We'll know which one it is.
Okay, well now that the suspense is killing you, we should get into it. Hello and welcome to the GD Politics Podcast. I'm Galen Druk. The polls did pretty well in 2024, particularly on the measurement of overall error. On the direction of error, though, things weren't quite as good. For the third presidential election in a row, they underestimated Republican support. By now, you know my spiel about why even imperfect polls are still one of the best ways for us to understand the world and the people around us. But that means that in this challenging time for polls especially, it's more important than ever that public opinion researchers self-reflect and try new things and make improvements. And that is exactly what happened last week in St. Louis, Missouri. At the annual conference of the American Association of Public Opinion Researchers, the people behind all these polls gathered to share their lessons learned from the past year. And that is what we are going to... And drink. We'll get to that. But that is what we are going to talk about today. We're also, on the topic of polls, going to take a closer look at President Trump's current approval rating, and at the end, play a game based on a new survey of what Americans think about the world's best-known companies. For example, which do Americans view more positively, the Trump Organization or X, formerly known as Twitter? Stay tuned, and you will find out. Here with me to do it all are two dear friends of the podcast, Nathaniel Rakich, welcome back to the pod.
Thanks, Galen.
And for the first time ever on the GD Politics Podcast, Ruth Igelnik, polling editor at the New York Times. Ruth, welcome. It's so good to have you. It has been too long.
Thank you. Yes, I am thrilled to be here. This is exciting.
So you were both at the APOR conference last week, as it's called. So you have the most up-to-date information on the state of the polling industry. I think is this the only podcast in the world where you could do an episode pegged to a polling conference?
Certainly, if not the only, one of the only. Maybe Marist has you neck and neck on that one.
But I promise...
Does Marist have a podcast?
They do.
Oh, okay. I gotta give it a listen.
But before we get to any of the conference chatter, I want to talk about a piece that you recently wrote, Ruth, in the New York Times, and it's titled, "One Thing Helping Trump's Approval Rating, Some People Are Not Paying Attention." What do you mean by that, Ruth?
Yeah, this is a really interesting finding. Obviously, Trump's approval ratings are historically low, but sort of underpinning it is this really interesting thing where about 40% of the people who approve of Trump are not paying attention to the news. And we asked attention to news in a lot of different ways because it's a really complicated thing to measure. People always overreport that they're paying attention to the news. But I was really interested in this idea of people paying attention to specific news events. So we asked, for example, about the man from Maryland who was mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. If people were paying attention to news about that, and the more you were paying attention to news about that, the less you approved of Trump's immigration policies. And put another way, the less you were paying attention to news about that, the more you approved of Trump's immigration policies. So it really was this idea that a lot of people who approve of Trump, a little under half of people who approve of Trump, just aren't paying attention to the sort of day-to-day news.
I have to ask, which way does the causality run? Like, the type of people who don't pay a lot of attention to the news, are they more likely to support Trump? So, even if you tell them about a story that they didn't hear about, like this man from Maryland case, they'll still support Trump. Or is it the case that they support Trump because they haven't heard the news, and if you inform them, they'll change their mind?